For centuries, the indigenous Mohanna fishermen have lived in harmony with the waters of the Indus, afloat on wooden houseboats, forming clusters of villages along the river, its lakes and tributaries. Manchar Lake near Sehwan once hosted the largest concentration of these houseboats, flaunting an array of shapes and designs. But time and circumstances took a toll. What now remains is only the Galiyo houseboat, representing a unique cultural heritage, the fading echoes of a fast disappearing legacy. In 2023, the Endangered Wooden Architecture program of Oxford Brookes University provided an opportunity to the Heritage Cell, Department of Architecture and Planning, NED University, to venture into a thorough investigation and documentation of Indus houseboats. The undertaken ethnographic research and documentation brought to light alarming revelations. Firstly, out of many houseboat designs, only the Galiyo has survived. All others are now completely extinct. And secondly, once present in hundreds on Manchar Lake, now only 44 houseboats remain, belonging to the last floating village of Mohanna fishermen. These too were on the edge of extinction, with only 1 to 5 years of remaining lifetime, as anticipated by their owners. Documenting these houseboats underscored an urgent need for action to undertake restoration and conservation efforts. As the project moved to its close, a timely opportunity arrived, proving to be a game changer. The launch of Cultural Protection Fund UK, Pakistan's pilot cycle in 2024, opened up an incredible opportunity to undertake not only the complete repair and restoration of existing houseboats, but also allowing room for an extended vision to address the fundamental needs of the community that lived on the threshold of a marginalized existence. Embarking on this ambitious project, required to be delivered within a short span of 10 months, the Heritage Cell team started off treading on uncertain grounds. The restoration of 44 houseboats existing in a highly dilapidated and precarious condition was not just an undertaking for physical repairs, it was more like rescuing a centuries-old cultural tradition from the brink of extinction. The community at hand is a close-knit population of 375 people, comprising of 65 families, all related to one another as an extended clan, tracing back their existence on Manchar Lake up to 5 generations or more. Having an equal male-female proportion, with 0% literacy rate, the community's 40% population, aged between 16 to 60 years, are the primary earners, actively involved in fishing and related jobs, with an average income of 1,000 rupees per day. The community lives under very challenging circumstances, deprived of even the basic necessities of human existence. Even though descending from the same family lineage, the cluster has a distinct division, with one larger group of 35 houseboats descending from one brother and the remaining 9 families originating from another brother. Having no precedents in sight for houseboat repairs since over 4 decades, the community initially showed reluctance to venture into the project. However, after some persuasion, the larger group of 35 houseboats, led by community representatives Zahid Ali Mallah and Muhammad Yusuf Mallah, agreed to participate and extend their full support to proposed activities. The work commenced in April 2024 with ambiguity on how to proceed with this humongous task, requiring procurement of large quantities of wood and other construction materials, the availability of skilled craftsmen, and managing the displaced families while their houseboats were under repair. Neither the houseboat owners nor the craftsmen had any clear idea on where to begin. From cost estimation to the required procedure to follow, nothing was well established. Addressing these uncertainties, the project team decided to undertake a pilot experimentation to familiarize themselves with the process, time, and costs involved. Muhammad Ashraf courageously volunteered to offer his houseboat for his first test case. Extensive discussions were conducted with senior master craftsmen well versed in building indigenous boats, after which a seasoned local craftsman, Ali Hassan, was identified by the community as an expert, under whose guidance the work began. On May 12, 2024, the master craftsmen and community representatives started the search for right kind of wood in nearby local markets. Bedmush, Babur, Tali, and Saro, suitable for the different parts of houseboat, were procured from Moro and Noshoro Feroz. Iron nails were bought from Hyderabad. Purchased wood logs were carefully cut and transported back to Manchar Lake on May 15, 2024. This entire process took 3 days, after which the wood planks were left under the sun for seasoning. May 20, 2024 marked the next phase of pilot restoration efforts. Under the grueling weather conditions, with temperatures soaring above 40 degrees Celsius, Ashraf's houseboat was pulled ashore by the collective efforts of over 50 community volunteers, struggling in various attempts for 2 successive days. Once aground, a comprehensive documentation for record of pre-restoration condition was conducted. Following this, the damaged sides were reinforced, the rotting and weakened base was removed, and the boat was flipped to fix a completely new base. On June 9, 2024, after almost a month of painstaking labor and experimentation with the alternate methods, the first houseboat stood completely restored. 2 days later, it was launched back into the water and handed over to Ashraf's family, marking a moment of reassurance and hope for the entire community. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Ashraf thanked the team by receiving them with traditional garlands and sweets during their inspection visit of the completed restoration. The successful completion of this pilot experiment boosted the community's confidence significantly. Additionally, the craftsmen gained self-assurance. The process for first ever massive-scale repair restoration of houseboats at Manchar Lake was set in motion. Restoring a staggering number of 35 houseboats, approximately 38 feet long and 10 feet wide, within a short time span of 10 months seemed a daunting task. Decades of neglect caused severe deterioration, the worst affected part being the bases, damaged with hasty cement sand mortar repairs and ad hoc quick fix that added extra weight and compromised the stability of an already fragile structure. Through a damage assessment survey, the 35 houseboats were categorized into 3 distinct levels of decay. 14 was severely damaged, 14 heavily deteriorated, and 7 partially damaged. The base, thorough, of all houseboats required complete replacement, along with partial replacement of damaged lower part of both sides, cacho, and other broken elements of features as required in individual cases. Based on the 3 categories, quotations were invited, and after necessary scrutiny, work was awarded to Muhammad Yusuf Mala. Determined to restore all the houseboats within given deadlines, multiple teams of craftsmen were engaged to work on 6 boats simultaneously, each team supervised by a master craftsman. Material procurement in greater quantities began in first week of July. Local markets soon being exhausted and the search for wood extended to Punjab. Eventually, the large eucalyptus wood planks required for the work were procured from Multan. The first batch of 6 severely deteriorated houseboats were hauled onto a dry patch by July 19, 2024. Despite all the preparations, work didn't pick pace until July 25, 2024. Prolonged disputes over advance payments between the community and craftsmen made it necessary for the project team to intervene and mitigate, eventually resolving the issue to ensure smooth work progress. Yet again, nature intervened. August brought with it monsoon rains, flooding the dry patch of land where restoration work site was established. The community had to quickly come to the rescue of dismantled boat parts, hauling them to higher and secure grounds on the embankment. The relocated workyard sheds were erected to provide the labor with a little respite from the scorching sun. Surviving the initial disruptions and slow progress, the houseboat restoration activity gradually started to take off. The earlier established approach of pulling out the boats ashore was no longer feasible. Now the boats had to be dismantled in water and their parts manually carried to the higher ground of worksite, where they were reassembled to their new base. Once completely restored, the boats were manually slid back into the water by 50 or so community volunteers, utilizing both physical effort and gravitational force for a smooth launch. For this, a slope had to be created on the stone embankment using earth filling. On an average, it took 15 to 20 days of arduous labor for complete restoration of one houseboat, other than a few exceptional cases that exceeded beyond, depending on the size and speed of the team of craftsmen. Despite sweltering heat and unpredictable rainy spells, the craftsmen and community remained resolute. 6 months from July to December 2024, the community and all stakeholders witnessed an unbelievable task being fulfilled. 35 houseboats completely restored and returned back to their respective families. Remarkable support and involvement from community made this happen, engaging with the craftsmen, continuously motivating and caring for them, showing respect for their hard work and honoring them upon completion of each houseboat repair. Even the children participated enthusiastically, painting the boats with motifs of the boat owner's choice. The spirit of coming together prevailed, particularly during the launch, celebrating each success as a shared victory. Inspired by successful restoration of 35 houseboats, the group of remaining 9 houseboat owners approached the team with a request to have their boats repaired and restored. This additional task was successfully completed within 2 months from 15 January to 15 March 2025 after acquiring a grant extension approval, bringing the figure of restored houseboats to 44, that is, the entire floating village brought back to life. Almost a year spent at Manchar Lake, frantically chasing the project deliverables, troubleshooting emerging challenges, resolving disputes, upholding traditional practices yet seeking innovative solutions. The project has culminated with a profound sense of achievement and a fulfilling realization of giving the community a renewed lease on life. The sheer restoration of 44 houseboats ensures a sustained existence of the community into the future. Beyond shelter, the project successfully addressed other fundamental needs of the community, including access to clean drinking water, provision of eco-toilets, improving conditions of health and hygiene, creating opportunity for basic education, and introducing alternative sustainable livelihoods, employing traditional skills and crafts. The project thus ends with a new beginning, opening venues for young Mohannas now trained in restoration and maintenance of houseboats to carry this knowledge forward, keeping their rich culture alive and continuing in the future, becoming the next generation of guardians for their floating village. Additionally, instigating a desire among Mohanna families settled on land to return back to their traditional way of life and resume living on houseboats. Consistent efforts are still needed to further strengthen and stabilize the community, ensuring revival of a nearly lost tradition. Addition of new houseboats for newlywed couples could allow this tradition to carry on and remain alive. The waters of Manchar Lake will hopefully continue to cradle the unique legacy of this floating fishing community. Long live the Mohannas of Manchar Lake.